So lucky to have today's guest on the show. Peter Russell is a mission-based business creator, if you will. Peter, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Francesca, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm excited to spend time with you. So I'm Peter Russell, founder and CEO of a company called Kindling. And Kindling is a video-based online mentorship platform that empowers young adults to thrive personally and professionally. And in its essence, it's a masterclass for life skills. And really, fundamentally, Kindling is about helping young adults cultivate personal agency. So what I mean by that, it's the confidence and belief that they have what it takes, they can take charge of their lives, and they can make things happen, provided they have the skills, tools, and resources to do so. So and we've talked about this. I mean, we focus primarily on 18 to 29-year-olds. Okay. Certainly a 16-year-old could take this, a 35-year-old could take this. It's really set up to be the first 10 years or so after school. And I think one of the things that people aren't aware of is 7 out of 10 college-age young adults do not end up with a 2-year, 4-year graduate degree for a host of reasons. Okay. So I think for a lot of people, they think about, oh, wait, aren't you starting your career at 22 or 23? 7 out of 10 are getting thrown out to the choppy waters at 18 years old. And unfortunately, in many cases, and I've heard this isn't just me making this up or reading this, I've heard that a lot of young adults are not receiving this type of life navigational skills at school, at home, or at the office. So
it's such impressive work, and you've done so much research and you continue to do so. But let's step back and tell me what drove you to start something like this. You're very passionate and knowledgeable about it. How did it all come about?
Thank you for asking. I would start by saying, and I'm going to lay out some kind of difficult things to hear, but I think the ultimate direction we're going in is very optimistic. But I do believe that there is a real dearth of role models in mentorship and overall hope and optimism out there in the world. As you know, I spent my entire 30-year career in media, including at one point in the very early stages at CNN, and then the majority of my career at ESPN. And listen, we could talk about this forever, but the bottom line is there's tens of thousands of media outlets, and how they get attention is through hyperbole. So there's just this overwhelming influx of, just tends to be negative news. We've all heard, if it leads, it bleeds. And I just think that has just weighed heavily on all of us, but particularly young adults, especially with technology. So I do believe that there's, like I said, a dearth in role models and mentorship. And I'd like to, Francesca, frame this up in terms of like challenges and opportunities.
Please, so I would love that.
And this is, some of the challenging things to hear, but I think it's important to really keep it real. There are a lot of people our age that are like, oh, young adults are so soft and, they don't want to work. And I think it's really important to understand what young adults are going through today. And I just think they're facing unique challenges that are different from when we grew up. It doesn't mean when you and I grew up, that it wasn't difficult. There were challenges. I just think it's a different set of challenges. So well before the pandemic, we were dealing with 30 to 40-year highs of anxiety, depression, self-harm, and suicide. And as you can imagine, that's only increased exponentially. I mean, psychologists and psychiatrists and therapists are just overwhelmed. The other thing, and some people may not be aware of, most of us have heard of the Gallup organization, right? One of the top survey and research organizations in the world. Every year they do an annual survey of 142 countries, millions and millions of working adults around the world. And over the past 10 years, it's averaged that 80% of all working adults around the world are either disengaged or highly disengaged in their work. And
Wow.
that's pretty heavy, right? And I think that when you're, in this example, highly disengaged in your work, that can carry over to other parts of your life, right? Not only your own
Absolutely.
personal life, but how you treat people and loved ones and everything else. So I think that that's something that we have to change. We're not talking about hard work. We're talking about people completely disengaged in their work. And that's not, I think, a way to live your life. The other thing is somewhat obvious that people talk about all the time, but technology, which I'm a huge fan of, but I think technology is incredibly addictive. And I touched upon this before. So young adults have grown up from day one. This is the water that they swim in, right? But because media, the media and technology organizations have figured out ways, PhDs out in Silicon Valley, to not only tap into your dopamine, but tap to gain your attention by sending you dozens and dozens of notifications a day.
Yep.
And a lot of them are alarming. And a lot of them, what they do is it sets off our body's natural alarm system of
Yep.
fight and flight. And as you know, as somebody who's into health and wellness, when that happens, it's almost like spraining your ankle. So when you sprain your ankle, what happens? Your body goes, something's going on here. We're going to race
Yep.
all the blood down to that area. So these false alarms can create inflammation and raise your cortisol levels. So this is a really important thing to have in your body, all the way
Yep.
back to, say, saber-toothed tigers running after you, or today, like a car running up to you at an intersection or something. But these false alarms every day really creates a lot of unhealthy
Sure.
outcomes. The other few things, and then we'll talk about opportunities,
Sure.
but young adults are dealing with crippling student debt. Again, significantly more from when I was a young adult. There was
Yep. Me
about a
too.
30-year period where we were dealing with, 12 to 15% increases a year. So many young adults are dealing with crippling student debt, and that really holds them back from other financial decisions they can potentially make.
Indeed.
Sadly, every day, another unique thing, sadly, every day we're reading about, which is overwhelming. We're reading about school shootings and other public places. Again, unique things that young adults have to deal with emotionally. AI and algorithms and outsourcing. Now we're hearing all about chat. What is it? Chat GPT, right?
Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're hearing about algorithms and AI and outsourcing taking the jobs of young adults and really restricting a lot of career options. At least that's the perception, right? And then
Right.
housing almost for all young adults are out of reach. And I know housing's starting to come down a little bit, but interest rates are going up. And then
That's right.
one thing, and then last, one thing that we're all aware of is young adults, whether you're 16, 17, 18, or 25, 26, 27, young adults lost over 2 years of social emotional development
That's right.
via COVID. And we're fundamentally wired to connect and belong. And so that's a challenge too.
Sure.
So let me just take a breath on that, because it's a lot there, and then I'll talk about opportunities. But any
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, there is so much there. It's interesting, I was in a meeting a few weeks ago and we talked about, it was in March. We were talking about, oh, what did you do during spring break, right? When you were in college decades ago. And immediately every single person said, thank goodness social media didn't exist when I was a young person. But because of all of these threats, if you will, maybe threats is a strong word, but it really does feel like that. Like you said, it creates this awful feeling. So we have comparison disease,
Oh
if
yeah.
you will, if I want to call it a disease. We're comparing ourselves to this fake profile of another person. We have
Right.
that. And then we have, like you said, all of these other things and this disengagement that we've had. Everything was placed on a pause, including our growth. So how do we now come back and make these? This is kind of like a SWOT analysis. So how do we turn these threats into opportunities, right, Peter?
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, I'm not saying young adults should never be on technology or social media?
Right.
Of course not. Social
Of
media
course
can
not.
connect us. It can be amazing. One of the things that we talk about Kindling is using technology on your terms. And right
Yeah,
now, it's not on any of our terms. So it's about kind of chunking it and deciding when and when not to go on technology. So,
yeah,
but you make some great points in terms of opportunities. Uh, when you think about it, there's never been a better time and a more affordable time to start a business. When I was much younger, it was cost prohibitive to build to almost build to build a website was very expensive. To
yep,
definitely start a business because we're talking brick and mortar and rent and just the infrastructure and any technology at that time was overwhelmingly expensive. But now theoretically, you could start a business with a cell phone and a laptop. So I
that's
think the
right.
entry level to start businesses and also the receptivity to start businesses, the receptivity of some, whether it's through grants or investment, there's people understand that that's really the future rather than
Yeah,
this huge structured massive corporation with all these levels of management. So that's a great
yes,
thing. I think another great trend is many corporations are no longer requiring a college degree for employment. Again, let me just kind of preface by saying I'm a fan of education. I think, and I'm a fan of learning, obviously, in general. College, I don't think college is for everyone. At
that's
the
right.
same time, and I actually think, especially now with the value proposition and the cost, I don't think it's for most. However, college can transform people. Uh,
That's right.
so college can be amazing. It just is not the singular route. Some of the most successful people I know in my life either did not go to college or did not finish college. So I
Yep,
think it's all about drive. Again, providing you have the resources and the that belief that you can make things happen.
that's
So,
right.
but I think it's a great trend though that a lot of major corporations, and there's a whole list of them. Ernst and Young, I think, was the first company. You may know that from your background. Was I think the first company that made headlines probably like 8 or 9 years ago. A couple other things here. This generation, which I think is an amazing thing, I think is more mission driven and more socially conscious. And I think that
Yes,
makes a difference, right? So these
absolutely.
young adults are either going to be business owners or corporate leaders, and the fact that they're mission driven and socially conscious means hopefully they're going to treat their employees better. They're going to be more careful about whether it's polluting or
That's right.
sourcing or whatever. So I think that's a great
Sustainability.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
Like
And
all
I'm
of
not
these
getting
initiatives that we're trying to embrace, DEI,
right,
right?
right,
Sustainability,
right.
they're drivers for this generation. So it's important to
Yeah,
recognize and embrace that because they can show us the way, right?
yeah. And I think also what's interesting is that for decades there's been this stigma behind the trades, and I think that's starting to turn around. So I think there's renewed respect for the trades, and I think there's number one, there's a massive demand, whether we're talking about construction or sort of like a technology type of trade or obviously electricians, plumbers, steam fitters, all that.
Right.
Let me tell you, the people that I've been in touch with when I had a house, now I'm in the city, two different houses, the people that worked on my house had a very nice life, very nice life. So I think
Absolutely.
there's a tremendous opportunity to be a business owner, to be in charge of kind of your schedule, to either be a one person business or to build a team. And I think we've all read articles about much more affordable to get into that world than spending
Yeah.
potentially $250,000 on a college education. Again, it depends where your path is, but I like the fact that the stigma has come down a bit and more people are thinking about that. And what's really interesting is we talked about AI and algorithms, um, a lot less um, displacement in these fields from AI and algorithms. These are like, you know,
Right.
physical jobs that require a lot of human interaction with their customers. So less likely to be kind of displaced by
Yeah.
AI and algorithms. Couple other quick things. There's never been a better, as you know, as a networker, there's never been an easier way to connect and network, not only around the country, but around the world and to
Around the
source
world.
people based and to source and to like really in a you know an authentic and normal way, but like to
Yeah.
target people based on interests.
Yes.
That is like a massive opportunity. There's an increased due to COVID and other reasons. There's an increased awareness amongst this generation on and focus on well-being. And then the other thing and the last thing, which will I think dovetail into what we want to talk about too, more specifically with Kindling, is that information has become now a commodity. And I
Yeah.
think that's a good thing. There's been like a democratization of information. And I think where it used to be, hey, only this type of group or socioeconomic group had access to information, even way back in terms of education, only the very wealthy would go to
Right.
college. So I love that. And I think what's not democratized, I believe, is wisdom and insight. And that's
That's right.
why I wanted to start the company that I did. So that was a mouthful. An
But it's brilliant. And as I
earful.
listen,
An
an
earful
earful,
for you.
right? But it's so interesting to me because as I listen to you and the opportunities for our young adults, I think it's also opportunities for our experienced adults who might be experiencing, like, I don't know if this is for me, like re-entering the workforce or changing their
Yeah.
career path. All of these opportunities that you just mentioned because of technology and because the ability to connect with people worldwide is giving us all this faith and hope, right? That the
Yeah.
opportunities are there. We get to tap into our creativity and we get to really listen to what's important to us and drive from there. And that's ultimately why we're here, right?
Yeah. And I really think you are what you focus on. And Aristotle said you are what you repeatedly do. And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that we ignore the realities of life. And there are some tough things going on in our world. But I think if you obsess with that, and again, technology, if you let it control you, will will create
Yep.
that immersion and that obsession. But I think
Yeah.
it's really important to have the perspective and to focus more on that personal agency and opportunity and optimism. There is a balance, right?
Yep.
And so, and one of the things you just talked about is, and one of the things that we've really focused on with Kindling is not, I just think my role is not to specifically teach someone like, hey, coding is a hot field to get into, you should get into that, or analytics. First of all, who am I to say what's in your heart or lights you up or feeds your soul? But number two is some of those things, especially through algorithms, could be outsourced in a few years. What we're
That's
trying
right.
to do is teach skills, tools, and mindsets so young adults can develop agility and adaptability. So all of these are timeless, evergreen skills and mindsets that they can use throughout their life, no matter where their career takes them.
So brilliant. So you and I decided that we are going to have an additional episode because the information you have is just so rich. So I'm just leaning in and letting the audience know there's going to be more in just a few weeks.
Yes.
But in the interest of time and keeping to, the episode structure, I always I'm curious to know something a little bit personal about my guests. So I always ask this question: what's your favorite piece of clothing or accessory, and how does it make you feel, Peter?
Sure, sure. I thank you for reminding me. I want to show you. So
Yes.
there's an A and a B. So
There's an A and a B.
lately I have been obsessed, although I'm not wearing it right now, with Pearl Snap shirts. I don't know if you can see
Really?
this. Pearl
Yes.
Snap shirts.
Yeah.
Um, when I say obsessed, I'll show you. So I
Oh my
just
gosh, that's three right there.
totally dig them. And by the way, it took me about 2 years to figure out like really good quality companies that made these. There's a lot of like low quality out there. There's just something about it that just makes it. Now, is that right for every setting? Francesca, who's a dress for success expert.
Yes,
No,
maybe, maybe
am
not.
I wearing that in an interview? No, of course not. But it just makes me feel a certain way. And as you know, clothing can do that. The second thing is I wear these every day. And
Oh,
these two
yeah.
beads are meaningful to me for two reasons. This one is what they call tiger eye beads, and my
Yep.
son is named Tiger. That's his real name. And so it just it's just a reminder of our kids and my son. And the second one was I was at a really cool entrepreneurial summit many years ago in the island of Fiji. And these local women were making all sorts of jewelry, and this was one of them. So
Wow.
I wear it every day just to, keep the worldwide perspective. And these women are like working really hard to make a few dollars making jewelry. I think it's just great to have that perspective. And I think it's also
Wow.
a reminder for me, as you could probably tell, for someone who is, you know, uh, kind of an A personality and has like high energy to just stay grounded, and
Yeah,
to pause once in a while. So it's just a really good reminder there.
I totally get it because I wear similar bracelets, Peter, and then this one in the middle is for grounding. This one right here.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
yeah, I totally understand. These are like positive energy, and like you said, when you put them on, they make you feel a certain way that you're part of something bigger than yourself. So what we'll do is round up this episode, and for now, let people know where's the best place for them to find you to continue the conversation.
Yeah, they can go on our website at gokindling.com. So that's GOKINDLING.com. So
Mhm.
kindling is the message is being like a catalyst for growth, a catalyst for change, a catalyst for transformation. So
Mm,
on that website, you can take a look at the trailer and something called a look inside. But one thing I just want to quickly say before
please.
we sign off about Kindling, about what's unique about it is, so this is a filmed online learning platform, almost
Okay.
like a master class that you can get. And what we did is we, from the Philadelphia area, we cast 12 real young adults that were diverse in terms of lifestyle, culture, socioeconomic status, age, and interest. And we filmed for 6 days, 10 hours a day with young
Wow.
adults. And we went through hundreds of different subject matters. And then we designed a class out of this, a program that is both personal and professional development. So there are 36 chapters of long form content. And most importantly, every single chapter has a call to action. So it's not
Wow.
like just watching it like, oh, that was good, move on. That's more entertainment. This is really, you're watching your peers kind of go through some like good discomfort and power through things, whether it's subject matters or
Right.
action items. And then hopefully it's quite inspiring for them. Like, wow, I just saw them do something that they didn't expect, and they powered through and they got it done. That's really inspiring. So
Wow. It's like
much more to
masterclass.
that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Masterclass Plus, Peter, as you describe it to me,
Yeah.
because of all the different levels you have and the four
Right.
pillars, which is we'll be talking more about the
Great.
pillars on our next episode. But as I listen, and I did have the opportunity to look at your website, and I do encourage everybody to do the same. It is so rich, this program that you've done so much research on, and to see this interaction, I love it. It's brilliant. You can really see the encouragement come through as the students, or pardon, the young adults participate. It's so
Yeah.
brilliant.
Thank you so much. And if people want to connect with me, there's a contact section there where you can do that. So
I love that. Well, wonderful. I so appreciate what you're doing. This is
oh,
bigger than
thank you
us,
so
right?
much.
For the world
Oh yeah,
and for all of the young adults out there. And like I said, we'll have you back in a few weeks to just dive a little bit deeper on this incredible program. For today, thank you so much for your time, Peter. I'm so grateful for you.
I appreciate you, Francesca. Thanks so much.